Hey everybody, Wayne here, and my live stream on the DXC main page died a couple of hours ago, so I thought I'd give people a quick update on the court case that happened this morning, Diestel Turkey Ranch versus Hsiung. So for those of you who don't know exactly what the story is here, there is a very large turkey farm in Northern California that supplies the Whole Foods that is known as the best of the best. They're rated 5+ by Whole Foods. They market themselves as free range, and they kill hundreds of thousands of turkeys, but people pay a pretty penny because they believe the animals are treated well and they're doing something good for the planet and for the animals by buying turkey from them. And we exposed what they were actually like. They were a huge factory farm that never let any of the turkeys outside, that had turkeys trampling each other to death, cannibalizing each other. Their two baby birds were suffocating, their fungal spores filling up their lungs, unable to breathe. So we took these birds to receive veterinary care. This is in the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post. Millions of Americans saw the horrible truth of how turkeys, including on so-called humane farms, are raised. And Diestel and Whole Foods are pissed. So lo and behold, a couple of years later, they are now suing me and claiming that I am a criminal for taking those birds out of that factory farm and for exposing the truth to the public. But the nature of this case is there are actually claims going in two directions. One is there are claims by these lawyers on behalf of an individual customer, a woman who actually bought Diestel turkey a few years ago and was so upset about it that she sued the turkey ranch, and then on behalf of the public, because the public has a right to know what's actually happening behind these closed doors. And so the part of the case dealt with these claims, the claims of fraud against the company. And unfortunately, the judge went through the case law and appears to be ready to hold that because the USDA approved the labels that these factory farmers are using. So when they label their products free range or humane, they send their label over to the USDA in Washington, D.C., and the USDA gives them a rubber stamp. Because the USDA approved these labels, even if we can show that those labels are absolutely false and misleading and completely fraudulent, it makes no impact at all. That we cannot bring our case, the customers cannot bring their case, the public cannot bring their case, that there's no accountability or transparency in this system at all, simply because the company's label was approved. So we've pointed out to the judge and the court that the USDA is in bed with the industry. We've pointed out that the USDA doesn't even really have any staff to assess and do audits of farms like Diestel Turkey Ranch. We've pointed out that the USDA, in the case of Diestel Turkey Ranch, didn't actually even review any evidence. They did not even do an inspection. But none of this matters, because in the land of big ag, in the land of big meat, as long as you have a government rubber stamp, it doesn't matter how much you lie, you will not be held to account. And this is what we need to change. And this is why the right to know is so important. When factory farms are regulated and governed by regulatory institutions that have absolutely no interest in holding them accountable, are bringing that transparency to the public, then we need to take direct action ourselves to show people the truth. So for the judge and for the court to be saying that, and for the legal system to be saying that simply because the USDA says that you can call this turkey free range, that it actually is free range, is a little bit like believing that Santa Claus exists just because a little kid comes to you and says, Santa Claus brought me some gifts on Christmas. Most of us, by the time we're 12 years old, understand that Santa Claus probably isn't real and that the presents are probably coming from someone else. In this case, unfortunately, we're not talking about happy things. We're talking about torturing baby animals. And what the industry is lying about is not the existence of an overweight guy in a red suit who's going to give us gifts on Christmas, but about the existence of factory farms that are torturing animals, that we have abundant proof actually exists. You know, again, we are not a major motion picture studio. We cannot use CGI to create images of tens of thousands of birds trampling each other to death. The footage that we shot is true and real. The birds that we saved were real individual lives, and we need to be able to prove this in court. But if we cannot prove it in court, because there are a number of laws that prevent us from proving it in court, and because the political system is so corrupt, then we need to pass laws like the right to know legislation in Berkeley and San Francisco that give customers and citizens and vegans and animal rights activists and frankly meat eaters too the right to know what is actually happening inside these factory farms. So the second thing that happened today is Diestel obviously, has been fighting tooth and nail to ensure that we cannot hold them to account for lying about torturing animals and for torturing the animals themselves. What they're doing instead is by attacking the messenger. So I personally don't even have any direct role in this lawsuit, other than the fact that I was one of the individuals who shot the footage that showed this turkey farm was not allowing the turkeys outside. And again, this isn't in controversy. They admitted it after we released this footage. They admitted to the San Francisco Chronicle that these turkeys were never stepping outside. Yet now, because I shot this footage and exposed the fact that they were committing a fraud on the public and on their customers, they are suing me, claiming that I am a criminal simply because I shot that footage, I stepped onto their property, and I took 2 baby birds, Sarah and Angie, out of the farm. So unfortunately, the judge seems somewhat sympathetic to this argument. The judge said today, well, it seems like there's some illegal behavior by this gentleman, Hsiung. And so they have a right to sue Wayne because he committed these crimes. But there was incredible pushback from our lawyers today. One of our lawyers got up in court and said, Judge, with all due respect, not all acts of trespass and not all acts of so-called theft are equal. And if someone is trespassing onto another's property in order to, for example, save someone from a burning building, they are legally entitled to do so. So this is a first for us. I mean, this is the first case in history where we have had an opportunity to defend open rescue in the court of law and to say if an animal is being tortured, if baby birds are suffocating to death, then we have a legal right to enter the facility and remove animals. And thankfully in California, there is even a statute, California Penal Code Section 597E, that provides if you have evidence that an animal is denied food and water, you have the right to enter that property and give that animal some care. And what we want to do is move from just creating transparency to giving activists the right to rescue animals, activists like you. We want to create a world where the law enshrines our right anytime an animal is being abused, human or non-human, for good people to walk onto that property and help the animals. And that's what we're going to do. So that was very powerful. But the exact proceeding, the third thing I want to talk about is a legal argument that's a little bit nuanced, so bear with me here. But one of the arguments we're making in court, our lawyers made in court today, and I'm really grateful to our lawyers at Richmond Law Group for representing me, because they're not charging me for this, which is wonderful of them. But one of the reasons that we believe that the case should be thrown out against me is a provision of California law called the Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participations Act. That many times big corporations will sue you not because they actually think you did something wrong, but because they believe you're saying something that is damaging to their bottom line. Again, they're not suing me because they think I did something wrong, or because they believe I actually committed a crime, or because they care about 2 baby birds who were dying of suffocation inside their factory farm. They're suing me because of my speech, because they're afraid that we will use the footage, we'll use the words I'm saying right now, we'll use social media, like this live stream right now, to damage their bottom line. The problem with that is our constitutional right. It is your right to watch this live stream. It is your right to comment and share this live stream, which you should do to help our work. It is my right to say truthful facts about what I saw inside of that factory farm. I am entitled, as a matter of the Bill of Rights and the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, to talk about the fact that I saw birds being ripped open by other birds. I saw birds so crowded they were trampling each other. This is our basic civil liberty that all of us in this nation share as citizens, or frankly, even as immigrants in the United States of America. And Diestel Turkey Ranch and other factory farms want to eliminate that right. They want to shut us down. So the reality of this lawsuit is it has very little to do with the fact that I stepped on their property. They would never sue anyone for stepping on their property. It has very little to do with the fact that I took 2 baby birds out of a dead pile. Because frankly, those baby birds were going to end up in a landfill, in garbage. They had no economic value to the industry. What this lawsuit has to do with is stopping us from speaking. But here's the problem for Diestel and for Whole Foods and all the other animal abusers of the earth. While they may win in court, and things are going fairly well for them in court for now, they will not win in the court of public opinion. Because time and time again, when they go after us, when they sue me, when they arrest me, when they try and repress you and I and us together as an animal rights movement, that brings even more attention to the cause. So I'm going to have a call with a journalist just 30 minutes from now, partly because they are suing me. And when the FBI and Smithfield went after Baby Lily, if you all remember Baby Lily, the piglet we rescued from a Utah pig farm, suddenly the entire nation was watching, because when we are willing to undertake sacrifice, when we are willing to bite the bullet for the animals, then the world pays even more attention. And here is the big problem for the industry. The more people pay attention to what is actually happening behind those closed doors, the more they support us and demand action to stop that cruelty and violence, because people believe in compassion. People believe in being kind to animals. And when we expose the cruelty that's happening through repression, through sacrifice, through lawsuits like this lawsuit, We will win. So again, I always ask you guys this, but I'll ask you again. It's such a simple thing for all of you to do. One thing all of you can do is just share this live stream, because you are fighting Diestel Turkey Ranch. You are making their strategy backfire when you spread the word about what's happening. And when more people hear about the fact that there was a baby bird, just a little bird as big as my own hand, who was collapsed on the ground, writhing in agony, suffocating from the filth and the feces that she had been breathing into her mouth her entire life, they're horrified by it. They want it to stop. And especially if it's coming from a farm that says it's humanely raised or free range. So when you share live streams like this, when you share content like this, when you share our investigations and videos, you are starting to create change for the world, and you are undermining their attempts to repress all of us. And they cannot repress us, all of us, because we will continue to speak, we will continue to fight, we will continue to rescue and investigate until every single one of those baby birds is out of that factory farm. So again, thank you all for joining this live stream. Thank you all for sharing. I saw Jean, Susan Gates, I'm seeing all these people. Robin is sharing. Rebecca Weston, thank you so much for sharing. I'm seeing so many people share the live stream. Carla is sharing. If any of you have any questions now for me, I'm more than happy to take questions. And again, the most important thing to remember is they cannot stop us as long as we are not afraid. If we take their attempts to repress us and silence us, and with a smile on our face, we just keep talking, then they will be scared out of their minds, and eventually the entire industry will fall apart. Every single factory farm will get shut down, because that is why they feel the need to take measures like this, to sue people like me, because they're scared out of their minds that they're all going to be shut down when the truth is revealed. So I'm seeing Leah Dolinger commenting. Leah is an amazing activist who just did a vigil, did a sit-in, a direct action inside of a pig farm in Australia. Thank you so much for your work, Leah. And I'm hoping you can come to the Animal Liberation Conference and join us in person, because I've never met you in person. Rebecca Weston is saying they can't stop the revolution. I'm right there with you, Rebecca. Any questions for me, please feel free to ask away, and I'll happy to answer your questions now. Darcy Square is saying, will the proceedings be continued, or was today a one-day deal? What is next? So Darcy, what happened today was our lawyers and Diestel's lawyers offered oral arguments. So they argued their case in court, and the next step is the judge is going to make a ruling. And the judge is a tough judge, so I don't know how she's going to lean, but I have a feeling that the more she hears about the industry, the more she hears the facts about what's actually happening, the more she's going to be on our side. Priscilla Molina is saying they're scared, and they are scared. And they should be scared, because what they're doing is wrong. And that is a difference between us and them. We work in the light because we are not afraid of what we're doing. They operate in the dark because they need secrecy and darkness for their industry to thrive. Martin Luther King Jr. said, when there is a boil in our society, it has to be exposed to the truth of light to heal. And we know that the more light, the more sunlight that's shined on this industry, the more our society will heal. So, and you are playing a huge and important role in making that happen. Shiloh Lafakis is asking, was it the same judges before? We have had a number of different judges. This judge is a Republican judge. She was appointed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. So we have a little bit of concern about that, because Republican judges tend to be less sympathetic to activists. On the other hand, she's a very common sense judge. She's very smart. So we think at the end of the day, she will get these issues right. So we're really happy to have the opportunity to defend the animals and defend our right to expose these industries in a court of law. Darcy is asking, can we file an application to have the proceedings on TV or Facebook? Darcy, that's a great suggestion, and next time we will actually ask our lawyers about that. I hope we can make that happen. Carmela is asking, you need a full legal team to find lawful ways to make the judge realize that cruelty like this needs to be stopped. Thank you for that comment, and you're absolutely right. And we do have a good legal team. Thankfully, Richmond Law Group is a fantastic set of lawyers. They've got a great team of lawyers from across the country. Jay Schuster, Kim Richmond, Gretchen Elsner. They're all fantastic attorneys. And if you're going to be doing work like this, one of the things you need to do is get in touch with lawyers. I'm a lawyer myself, so I can give you some advice. I can't represent activists too much because I'm too often in trouble myself. But if I can help you out, I definitely will. And the reason we created DXE is so more and more activists could get this knowledge, could get this training. So one thing you can all do, in addition to sharing this live stream, is please come to the Animal Liberation Conference. If you want to understand how this happened with Diestel Turkey Ranch and what we're doing to overcome their strategy to silence all of us, not just me, they want to silence all of us from exposing the truth about what happens to these poor birds and turkey farms, then you need to be at the Liberation Conference, because that is the place where you're going to meet some world-class experts who will train you in things like investigations, rescue, and litigation. So Angela Otani is saying, what is the name of the company suing you? The name of the company is Diestel Turkey Ranch, and it is a supplier for a major grocer in the United States called Whole Foods. In fact, one of the biggest grocers in the nation. And Whole Foods is now owned by Amazon. So it is an even bigger company now. So John Ashby is saying, is this civil or criminal? John, it is a civil case, but they're making criminal allegations against me personally. So the lawsuit against the consumers and Diestel is a civil lawsuit, but they're making allegations against me that I engage in criminal behavior. And Shiloh Lafakis is asking, why is Diestel only suing you and not other activists who are there with you? Well, one, because I'm the most notable activist. I'm the spokesperson, and they want to shut me down. The second is, actually, initially, they did sue 2 other people. But those 2 other people were tossed out of the case because literally all these 2 other people did was research. So they tried to bring other people in the lawsuit whose only role literally was to do research and writing. And again, this is a constitutional right. That is unconstitutional. You cannot sue someone for writing something honest and truthful on a piece of paper. And Diestel Turkey Ranch, and hopefully the judge will eventually see that. I'm seeing Colin Cameron on the live stream saying we'll never be silent. That's awesome. And I'm saying Lori Lamondé saying compassion is not a crime. They cannot silence us. Lori, you're absolutely right. But again, the way for us to make sure they cannot silence us is for us all to come together, support each other, and keep fighting and speaking, even when the industry tries to shut us down. Okay, that's all I have to say. So unless there are any last questions, again, feel free to stay and follow my Facebook page because I do these live streams pretty often. And I'm always looking for questions and feedback and comments from you because you help us make our activism better. We are a team. I depend on every single one of you. Honestly, there have been so many times in the course of the past 4 years, whether because of the suffering that I saw or because of the repression I and my fellow activists are facing, that I felt burned out and tired and exhausted. And every single time I come on Facebook Live and I see all these comments, I see thousands of people supporting us. I see hundreds of people sharing these live streams. I realize this movement's growing. We cannot be stopped. And eventually the light of day will be shined on every single factory farm on this earth. And all of these evil places will be shut down. But we are going to do it together. And only with your support will we make it happen. So thank you all so much for your support. Thank you, John. Thank you, Kimberly. And thank you, Kim Michelle. Love and solidarity from the United States. Glad to see you're doing great work for animals all the way in France, Kim. So I'll see you all next time and keep fighting the good fight. Goodbye, everybody.